At the end of his Sermon on the Mount, Jesus leaves his listeners with a choice. He says, "Everyone then who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like a wise man who built his house on a rock. The rain fell, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house. But it did not fall, because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not act on them will be like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell, and great was its fall." And so there are three thoughts that I have when reading this. One is obviously the rock is the foundation, and that foundation is Jesus himself. And one reason why people might not want to build their house on this rock is because rock is much harder than sand. If you're trying to build a house and put posts in a rock, it's so much easier when you're at the beach to plant a flag or plant anything into sand, because it's so pliable and movable. And so also it is with life. Whenever we want to found our lives and how we act and what we want to do, it's so much easier to do it with the way the rest of the world does, and just to go with the flow, because that's easy. But to follow Jesus is hard. But on the other hand, to follow Jesus is solid. Another thing that we might try to do is we might try to build our house on two different foundations. Maybe we try to build part of our house on the rock, and there's parts of our house that we don't want to build on that rock just because it's, again, so difficult. So we don't want to surrender that part of our house or try to take the time to put that part of our life or our house on the rock. And so we build it on the sand. And so that obviously puts our lives in danger. We compromise our lives and our spiritual health when we try to only half build our lives on Jesus and try to serve two masters. And so we end up with a house that goes into ruin and shambles because of that. So I hope that you can reflect on your life and see, is there any place where I have not built my life? The way that I talk, the way that I treat those that don't love me, the way that I am at work, or the way that my priorities and where my heart is. Have I built all of these things up on a firm foundation of Jesus and his teachings? That's something we need to reflect on. A third mistake that we might make is that we don't build at all. Is that we might sit on the rock of we might sit on Jesus, but we don't ever build up our faith on his teachings. We simply go through the motions. And while Peter and the other apostles, but especially Peter in 2 Peter chapter 1, he says that we need to add to our faith all of these various different virtues, whether it be brotherly love, kindness, moral excellence, or self-discipline. Whatever it is, we need to add these things to our faith. That includes, again, all those things and knowledge. And so, please, look at your life. Have you actually been building on Jesus, or have you just been stagnant in your faith and not been building much at all? So I hope that as we think about the challenge that Jesus gives to his listeners, that we will also heed that challenge and think about these three different areas.